Hello everyone, and welcome to my review for Jujutsu Kaisen Chapter 214. If I sound a little stuffed up, or if I'm sniffling a bit, that's because I'm either A, having a really bad allergy day, or B, getting a head cold. Either way, it doesn't really matter much to you guys who are just here to watch the videos. So, without any further ado, be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. I'd like to try and hit at least 100 likes on this week's review. Now let's get right into the chapter. So, first things first. Hana, maybe dead? Maybe. Implied to be dead. She got her arm chomped off by Sukuna, and then he threw her off a building. Very violently threw her off a building, and we got a very obvious splat sound effect. Now, initial reaction, oh, she's dead. She's deceased, incredibly. I mean, she fell from oh god, do I even want to count? It looks like she fell onto another rooftop, but she went down a dozen stories. Fatal. That's a fatal fall, especially since she was falling onto her back almost head first. However, there are two details that are of great importance. One, Sukuna, in Megumi's body, is still a player in the culling game. And Hana is another player. I mean, even if she weren't, I'm pretty sure he would still get points? No. Even civilians in the game are still players, so, He would get points if she died. Kogane would show up and say, hey, you got 5 points for killing another player. Good job. That didn't happen. Maybe it happened off screen, but we didn't see it happen. I mean, I'm looking here. There's maybe, I don't know, a 10 to 15 second gap in which that could have happened, but we didn't see it. I feel like Gege probably would have shown it, given that he has shown us that you get points when you kill another player. It's been focused upon. The other reason, and one that I don't think I've heard anyone else talk about, is that Hana is a vessel, much like Yuji. More like Yuji than, like Yuji was, more than pretty much anyone else who is a reincarnated sorcerer. And we should remember, Yuji literally died. Twice! 2 times! Straight up died. And then was able to come back. And the first time was because of the Heian-era sorcerer inhabiting his body. They were able to just bring him back from the dead. And he had been dead for I don't know, maybe a day. He'd been dead for a while. It wasn't like we were within the 5 minutes of zero brain activity, or the 5 minutes without oxygen before brain death occurs. It was a while. And yet, Reverse Curse Technique was still able to bring him back. Of course, Hana's not built like Yuji. And her relationship with Angel is not the same as Yuji's and Sukuna's was. It's really, really weird to be talking about that in past tense now. It's man, the, what's the word I'm looking for here? The, establishment? The status quo of the series has been flipped on its head. Just totally. I mean, Gojo being gone was a big deal, but in terms of the story, I feel like Yuji's gimmick from Chapter 1 not being his gimmick anymore is an even bigger deal than Gojo getting sealed. But I digress. The possibility remains that Hana could be alive. And I say this because if she's dead, how the fuck are we getting Gojo out of the prison realm? She was basically our only hope. Unless the inverted spear of heaven wasn't destroyed, and it's just around somewhere, and someone can just find it. Or somehow you can just unlock the prison realm, like if Kenjaku just decides to open it, which I doubt would happen. Because Gojo would get out of the box, and then kill Kenjaku, and then go fight Sukuna. Because, I imagine if Kenjaku would have ever let Gojo out of the box, it's because it's hey, I want to see the two tops of the verse fight each other. I imagine it would be very entertaining to watch, because, Dude wants to see cool shit happen. I respect it. Yeah, so, like, if Hana's straight up dead, Gojo's not getting out. So there has to be an out of some kind for us. And that may be it. That might be it. Alternatively, based on the stuff at the end of the chapter, if Megumi is able to take back control of his body and Sukuna does indeed absorb curse techniques from eating people, and somehow Megumi gains the ability to access those techniques, then maybe Megumi could use curse technique nullification to free Gojo. But that is the scenario I find to be the most outlandish and unlikely. So I probably won't bring that up ever again unless it seems like that's actually going to happen. Now, the second big thing. Yuji. Yuji's very impressive this chapter. This is maybe the most impressive Yuji chapter in terms of his capabilities. For starters, it does not seem like Yuji has lost his ability to use cursed energy. Now, we were jumping the gun a little bit. We were making that assumption. It was never stated that he lost it all. But the reason we assumed that is because we were operating under the assumption that Sukuna is the source of Yuji's cursed energy. That's not exactly the case. First things first, everyone produces their own cursed energy. Well, everyone except Maki and Toji did. Everyone produces it. So Yuji already had some, but he presumably only had like a normal person's amount, because if he had more, Megumi would have probably noticed it when they initially encountered each other. Unless you want to argue that the vestiges or whatever on the box for Sukuna's finger was masking it. You could make that argument, I suppose. But he has his own cursed energy. And he is the child of a sorcerer. And I don't just mean like Kenjaku, because Kenjaku took over the body of a person. I imagine Kenjaku could still use cursed techniques if they took over the body of a non-sorcerer. His mom, Kaori, had her own curse technique. Even if she technically lacked the ability to use it, which, if she had it, and Kenjaku was aware that she had it, I doubt that she was unaware. She was a sorcerer. Yuji is the child of a sorcerer. Who's, then their power got boosted by being the host of Kenjaku. So, someone with big-ass cursed energy. And as we've seen thus far, yeah, sorcerers can be born from non-sorcerers, but as far as we can tell, for the most part, I think sorcerers will have more sorcerers as kids. The reason for that is probably because the ability to use cursed energy is dependent upon the brain. It's dependent upon genetics. So, theoretically, you should inherit the ability to use cursed energy from your parents. There's no guarantee that you will, but usually that should be how it works. So, Yuji would be able to produce cursed energy on his own, and he should be able to use a lot because of who he is the offspring of. Then we get into the other thing. Yuji's growth throughout the series. It correlates with him consuming more Sukuna's fingers. However, it is not caused necessarily, technically, by him consuming more Sukuna's fingers. He's not getting more power from them. Yuji has a resistance to Sukuna's fingers. And the reason that he had to consume them slowly, couldn't eat them all at once, because then Shibuya happens, is because his body has to build up a resistance to it. And a cursed object is really fucking dangerous because of the cursed energy. So, every time that Yuji consumed one of Sukuna's fingers, his body either had to be A, building up a way higher resistance to cursed energy, which, may kind of explain some things, or his own ability to produce cursed energy had to increase in order to suppress Sukuna. Assist him in suppressing Sukuna. So that's why he kept getting stronger over the series. Now, some people have pointed this out. Yuji had not gone all out since Shibuya. Either he didn't want to, or he wasn't able to. His 2 fights since Shibuya, which obviously saw a lot of growth from Yuji. He almost died multiple times, which gives you kind of a Zenkai boost of cursed energy, because you experience the fear of death and you turn that fear into cursed energy. He experienced multiple black flashes. Now, I don't think your skill with using cursed energy stacks with each use. Otherwise, Nanami would be disgusting. But it's still more experience. He got way more combat experience. It was basically hyper-intense training. It's what happens anytime a shonen protagonist defeats a big arc villain. They just passively get stronger. And that was what happened. We get into post-Shibuya. Yuji's been feeling really bad since Shibuya, so his cursed energy production is going to be going up because the kid's feeling terrible. You have Chozo's infamously translated translation of, or not his infamously translated description. I'm tired and sick, okay? My brain is not working at 100%. He's now become a demon god. Remember how we all cringed at that? It's still a cringy line. It still sucks. But he did not really want to fight Yuta. He was running away from Yuta. And, showed some pretty impressive feats when trying to escape from him. Even Yuta was kind of like, he's pretty nice. Now, I'm not even for a moment suggesting that if Yuta were to fight a serious Yuji, he would have a problem. Not even for an iota would I suggest that Yuji could give Yuta a serious fight if he were going all out. Fuck no. But he probably could have done a lot better. Then, we go to Tokyo Colony number 1. He fights fucking Fodder, who, by the way, already showed that he had the durability to survive getting blown through buildings. Obviously, I think getting, pushed through multiple buildings does not compare to the condensed impact of a punch to the, center of your torso with enough force to send you flying through multiple buildings. Obviously, that attack was probably way stronger than Airplane Lady's rush. But, it showed Yuji's got, building level durability, at least. I suppose, theoretically, if you can eat getting thrown through buildings, and the buildings get kind of destroyed in the process, you would have, above building durability. I don't know. I'm not one of those professional power scalers. I'm not super familiar with their terminology and their standards for things. He's really durable. And then you get his fight with Higuruma, who he's trying to recruit, and then gets his cursed energy usage taken away. So then, he couldn't really show off what he was capable of in that fight. And then he hasn't really had any other fights since then. He's just kind of been doing shit. Off screen, really. We haven't really seen him do much. So, we haven't had a good grasp of Yuji's capabilities. Now, this is all for me to preface, fuck no can he actually fight 15-figure Sukuna in Megumi's body. Fuck no. But he's still pretty strong. He obliterates the corner of this skyscraper's roof. All of the shit up here gets obliterated by him jumping off. And Sukuna's kind of surprised by his strength and speed. He's like, where did this come from? when were you capable of doing this? They grab onto each other in a really cool double-page spread, which is definitely a reference to that one spread from, what was it, like chapter 61, 62, 63, somewhere in the early 60s, end of Origin of Obedience, where, you know, they're grabbing each other by the throat with the special grades in the background. Clearly a reference to that. Very cool to see. So they fight, and Yuji is showing off some impressive strength feats. But here's the thing. I've seen some people suggest, oh, Yuji is faster than Jogo, or Yuji is more powerful than Jogo, or Yuji could beat Jogo because Jogo couldn't even touch 15-Finger Sukuna in Shibuya, who, you know, well, maybe not physically, actually. I suppose physically, 15-Finger Sukuna in Shibuya had better physical stats than Sukuna does now. But now he's got 10 shadows, so, you know, the physical stats are meaningless in this case. Except for right now, when Sukuna's toying with Yuji and is humoring him with a bit of a fist fight. No, Yuji is not faster than Jogo, or more powerful than Jogo, or even by any stretch of the imagination beating Jogo the way he is now in the series. Do you know why Jogo couldn't touch Sukuna? Because their agreement was, oh, if you can lay a finger on me, I'll do whatever you want. So, while Sukuna was toying with Jogo, he was still trying to not get hit by him. He was trying in that respect. Whereas here, Sukuna doesn't even view Yuji as a threat. And he's not, you know, he's not expecting much from him. So the things that Yuji does manage to accomplish take him a little off guard. But if he were trying, oh, Yuji wouldn't be touching him. Now, we have a really, really good moment. It's a callback to the Junpei arc, where Yuji asks, why can't you just be normal? Why can't you just leave people alone? And Sukuna's response is basically, one, here, I'm going to hit you with cleave or dismantle, whichever one it is. Again, shouldn't cleave be the singular cut and dismantle be the one that dices you up into pieces? You know what dismantles you? I don't know. Maybe that's just me, unless that is correct. I don't know. I didn't realize Yuji kind of dodged it. He's running forward, or at least, you know, moving forward. I think the speed lines on the panel above suggest that he's, like, running after him. And, you know, the pace of the fight is he's running after Sukuna. And as he's running forward, he's leaning forward. The attack, which I'm going to call cleave, even if it's incorrect, is going right across him, diagonally across him. It looks like it's going to cut Yuji in half or something. And from the way that he's standing, it's going to hit his shoulder first. And you know what he does? He stops and leans back, so it only cuts his shoulder. Unless you want to make the argument that Sukuna was, you know, he was just trying to give him a little flesh wound. Which seems pretty out of character. Yuji managed to react to cleave and move in such a way to minimize the damage. That is an insane reaction feat. That is so impressive. And then Sukuna gives like a Muzan speech. It's not quite the same as the Muzan speech from later on in Demon Slayer. Spoilers for Demon Slayer. Where Muzan's like, man, why are you guys so hung up on getting revenge against me? People don't declare vengeance upon natural disasters. You know, they just are grateful to be alive and then they move on with their lives. Why what the fuck's wrong with you people? I'm a god. I'm a natural disaster. I do as I please, and you can't do anything about it. So, like, could you just be normal and give up? Sukuna's speech is a little different here, in which he basically says, listen, why do you guys suck so much? If you didn't want to suffer, if you didn't want to have things ruining your lives, maybe you just should have been strong enough to stop those things from happening. So, in essence, the strong can do whatever they want, because they're strong. And the weak have to just take it, because they're weak. Pretty standard stuff. Is pretty in line with his general demeanor. Makes sense for someone from the strongest era of Jujutsu sorcery. And that's when Yuji remembers. These guys are, and always will be, curses. It's the realization he had during the Junpei arc, when Mahito used Idol Transfiguration on Junpei to turn him into a Pokemon, and Yuji was like, Sukuna, please save Junpei. And he was just like, no, nah, I don't feel like it. It's not like I could maybe do anything about it anyway, but I don't need to tell him that part. I just don't feel like it. And then him and Mahito shared a big laugh about it. And that was when he realized there's no, like, appealing to the humanity of these guys. Because, well, you know, most of them aren't actually humans. They're curses. Cursed spirits are literally made of negative energy. They subsist off of human suffering. Of course they're terrible. They are literally evil spirits. Except Sukuna. Sukuna was originally a human sorcerer. Sukuna makes the active choice to be fucking terrible. He decides to be an asshole and just inflict terrible things upon people. He's the opposite of Chozo. Chozo, who initially chose to live as a curse because he thought he didn't really have much of a choice, didn't think there'd really be a choice for his brothers because, you know, they were monster people. But now, you know, you've died as a curse. Now you can live as a human. Chozo, being someone who is effectively kind of the same thing Sukuna is to an extent, can choose to be a good person. Chozo can choose to help people, to do good, and be a nice guy. Sukuna actively chooses not to. He's just a piece of shit. He is the king of curses for this very reason. And it's really cool for, you know, Yuji to recollect upon that and get that callback to one of the best parts of the early series. So, when Sukuna says, yeah, you guys are made to be chewed up, you know, you were made to kneel, Yuji's like, okay, let's see if you can chew up me and my suffering. Let's see if you can handle me and my suffering. Let me tell you, folks, suffering mode Yuji is peak Yuji. It's when he's at his best as a character. And due to the way cursed energy works, it should be when he's at his strongest, because that's when he's the most consumed by negativity. So Sukuna's like, okay. He hits him with Dismantle. And Yuji, he's getting diced up, and he does not give a shit. He does not care. He gets his foot cut up. He gets the top part of his ear sliced off. He is getting full body severe lacerations. Now, someone's going to have to use reverse curse technique on him at some point, because there is no way in hell that Gege is going to consistently draw the main character with this many scars. He would never do it. I also have my doubts about Jump being okay with, you know, a plucky little shonen protagonist being that physically disfigured. But he doesn't give a shit. I don't know if I want to say he's eating it, because I don't think you can look at a person who is this severely injured and say, oh, they're eating it. But the fact that he's able to keep moving forward without any change to his pace and punch Sukuna in the fucking face shows that, yeah, maybe he is kind of eating it. He just doesn't care. This is so good. Oh my god. Shibuya. Ooh. Shibuya made Yuji. I don't want to say Yuji was a bad character. His character arc prior to Shibuya was interesting. To an extent. He starts off as a very naive person. And his arc, like, post-Shibuya into Shibuya, is him losing his innocence. It's him realizing how messed up the world is and how difficult it is to be a sorcerer. And him accepting, yeah, my life is full of suffering, but I'm a sorcerer. I'm supposed to kill curses. So I just kind of go with the flow. I'm a cog in the machine. I'm going to take whatever life throws at me, and I'm just going to keep doing what I have to do. Post Shibuya is him doing that, pretty much. That's him doing that. That's him being like, yeah, I'm responsible for the deaths of countless people. I feel immense guilt for that, and my judgment is going to come at some point. In the meantime, I have to free Gojo so that he can do his job as a cursed sorcerer, or a sorcerer, as a and that's his job for the time being. So he just keeps going. He just keeps struggling on, struggler. And man, is it fucking good. It is so good. I love Yuji. Post Shibuya, Yuji is just... oh, he's so good. He is, without a doubt, one of the best characters in the series. I know a lot of people kind of shit on the guy, because he's nowhere near the top tiers. And we're supposedly, entering the final phases of the story. Gege plans on ending it within the year. And he's, I would not put Yuji in the top 20. I would maybe put him near the top 20, but not in it. But, goddamn, he's just so good. So fucking good. Yuta. I'm mostly doing this because of Griever, who is, the resident Yuta stan. Yuta's a good character, and he's an impressive character. He's very powerful. We've discussed this at length. He's one of the strongest characters in the series. Top 5 at least. I'm pretty sure, everyone puts him top 5. But I don't think Yuta has ever had character moments that make me feel the way Yuji's character moments have. He is just so much more compelling. It's not to say Yuta's not compelling, but Yuji just hits different. Maybe it's because Yuji's weaker, that him still pressing onward and enduring his suffering hits harder. But, I don't know, man. Yuji's gotta be, I would say, maybe the best shonen protagonist of this generation. Now, I don't read a ton of other ongoing series, or series that you could say are from this generation but ended recently. The fucking, 2016 to 2020 era series, if you want to name that as an era and jump. I'm not going to call it new gen, it's current gen. The series turns 5 years old this week, I think. So anyone calling a 5-year-old series new gen is damaged. But man, he's just so good. He is so good. I don't hear people talk about other protagonists like this. I don't hear people bring this shit up. So he's got to be it. He is him. Now, of course, to downplay Yuji a little bit, after all of that filleting I just did for the last 10 minutes. How long is this review now, by the way? How far? Oh, wow, we're at half an hour. I didn't think this would be the one that would get the longest review out of me, but apparently it is. Yuji's able to take that dismantle because Sukuna's cursed energy output is dropping, so his techniques aren't as powerful. The reason it's dropping is because Megumi's fighting back from the inside. Megumi's still in there, because of course he is. He is still one of the main characters. Gege's not just going to have him get effectively erased like that without any build-up to it. You know, like seeing Megumi internally falling into the abyss, losing hope, or maybe still having hope in Yuji and the rest of his friends. No, like, oh, here's Yuji and Megumi hanging out, or Megumi hanging out with Gojo as like a flashback right after Sukuna takes over. I'm doing the big comparison to the Nobara stuff, because Nobara's death is believable because of the way it was built up to, and then the way it was played upon after the fact. Whereas with Megumi, who's, you know, been here longer, stuck around longer, is, I think, the most popular character. Definitely Gege's favorite. Maybe dies. Maybe gets his soul erased from Sukuna taking over. Gets, like, no real build-up to it. No real playing upon it after it happens. That can't just be the end. You can't get rid of Megumi that suddenly. A character who has had so much build-up to whatever he's going to be doing in the future, which, to an extent, seems to be this right now in the present. You're not gonna just go, oh, he's gone. It's not gonna happen. So, he's still in there. He's still fighting. I did not expect Megumi to be the one doing the internal battle against Sukuna, but here we are. And I'm not going to complain about it, because if it means that we can get Sukuna having to split his focus between suppressing Megumi's soul and fighting Yuji in the real world, that's going to be really cool. I don't think they can beat Sukuna anyway, even if that goes even mildly well for them. But it's going to be really cool. And it'll, you know, probably create an opportunity for someone to swoop by and save them. And I guess we're just going to have to wait and find out whatever that'll be. Obviously, no break this week, which is good. This was a good chapter to come back to after a break. I really enjoyed this chapter. This stretch of chapters, you know, the last few chapters we've gotten have been really, really good. It's because they're payoff chapters. That makes the most sense. They're the ones that we've basically been getting build up to for the entire series. And Gege hasn't really disappointed with payoff. You know, when you consider Shibuya was payoff for like the whole half of the series leading up to it, the man does not drop the ball with payoff. So it's been great. I'm expecting more greatness. I will be shocked when the week comes that people in my Discord don't tell me, hey, stay off social media. It's a big-ass chapter. Because I'm going to be like, well, shit. What happened? So, yeah. That's all for this week's review. If you enjoyed, please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and click that notification bell so you don't miss any of my uploads. I do Jujutsu Kaisen chapter reactions and reviews every week that we get a new chapter. If you enjoy discussing Jujutsu Kaisen with other people, or you just enjoy the content I produce on this channel, I highly suggest you check out my Discord server. I've linked that down in the description. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys around. Take care.